Welcome to Zoe Stories. Stepdad's bet. Now I'm his lovely stepdaughter. I never imagined one careless bet could unravel the life I thought I knew until he smiled and said, "If you lose, you'll become my perfect little girl." 18-year-old Aaron sat slouched on the edge of his bed, scrolling through his phone. Life had never felt particularly kind to him. He was shy, introverted, and socially awkward, a perfect target for teasing, but too invisible for anyone to bother confronting him directly. School was a minefield of whispers, fleeting glances, and the subtle humiliation of being overlooked. His stepdad, Richard, was a man of charisma and quiet intimidation. Aaron had never truly understood him, never trusted him entirely. There was an edge to Richard, a dominance that could twist even casual words into chains. And now, on a lazy Saturday afternoon, that edge sharpened into a challenge that would redefine Aaron's entire existence. "I bet you can't handle a single weekend in my world," Richard said, leaning casually against the doorway. "If you lose, you'll have to do exactly as I say." Aaron laughed nervously, unsure if this was serious. But something in Richard's smile, calculated, almost predatory, made him swallow hard. "And what exactly do I have to do?" Richard's eyes glinted. "You'll see. You'll be my lovely stepdaughter." Aaron froze. The words barely registered, but the tone left no room for negotiation. Part of him wanted to run, to bolt to the nearest exit and pretend this conversation had never happened. But the rest, the terrified, rebellious part, couldn't deny the thrill that pricked his chest. He had no choice but to accept. That night, Aaron lay awake in his bed, a storm of anxiety and curiosity raging inside him. He thought of the silky skirts that Richard had carelessly mentioned, of the makeup kits neatly lined up on the bathroom counter, of the soft heels stacked like silent threats beside the mirror. Could he really do this? Could he let someone else strip away his identity and reconstruct him as something utterly foreign? Morning came with an eerie stillness. Richard was waiting, impeccably dressed, a teasing smirk curling his lips. "Time to begin," he said. Aaron followed silently, his stomach in knots. The bedroom was transformed into a feminine paradise, mirrors on every wall, drawers spilling with lingerie and delicate fabrics, perfumes that smelled impossibly sweet, and ribbons that gleamed like liquid satin. "You'll start with something simple," Richard said, holding out a pair of silky panties and a soft pink skirt. "Don't worry, I'll guide you. And remember, if you look good, you get points. If you resist, you lose." Aaron's fingers trembled as he touched the soft fabrics. A strange shiver ran down his spine, part fear, part anticipation. Richard's gaze was patient, yet piercing, and Aaron realized he couldn't hide anything. Hours passed in a blur of reflection and transformation. Richard guided him in the art of makeup, showing him how to contour his face, highlight his cheekbones, and soften his jawline. Every brushstroke, every swipe of color felt like a small surrender. Aaron's hands shook, but he obeyed. With each new layer, he could feel a subtle shift, not just in his reflection, but deep within him. By evening, Aaron looked in the mirror and hardly recognized himself. The boy who had slouched in the corner of his room was gone, replaced by someone delicate, soft, and alarmingly beautiful. He caught Richard's approving gaze and felt a confusing mixture of pride and shame. "You look perfect," Richard whispered, almost tenderly, yet with a flicker of dominance that made Aaron's heart race. "Now, it's time to see the world." As Aaron stepped outside wearing heels that made his legs feel alien, the sun glaring and the wind brushing against his soft skirt, he realized this was just the beginning. Every glance, every step, would test him, challenge him, and strip away the remnants of who he once was. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrifying thought crept in. Maybe he wouldn't want to go back. As Aaron walked to the car, a group of classmates passed by, laughing. Their eyes locked onto him, and recognition flickered in one of their faces. "Aaron? Is that you?" Every step I took felt like walking on a tightrope. One wrong move, one slip, and everyone would see the truth I was trying desperately to hide. Aaron's heart hammered in his chest as he climbed into the car. The soft skirt brushed against his thighs, and the heels made his legs wobble with every small movement. Richard sat beside him, eyes calm, yet sharp, observing every tiny gesture. "You'll need confidence," Richard said, his voice low, almost soothing. "Even if you don't feel it, you must project it. Your body speaks before your lips ever do." Aaron swallowed hard. He had never imagined himself like this, dressing in delicate fabrics, applying makeup that shimmered under the afternoon sun, walking with a grace he didn't yet possess. The city streets blurred past him as anxiety knotted tighter in his stomach. The first stop was a mall. Richard parked near the entrance, and Aaron's stomach twisted. People streamed past, teenagers with friends, couples laughing, parents holding toddlers. He was painfully aware of every eye that might fall on him. "Remember," Richard whispered, his hand brushing Aaron's shoulder, sending an electric shiver down his spine. "You are my stepdaughter. You are beautiful. You are perfect." Aaron nodded, though the words felt foreign, almost alien. Each step he took toward the entrance was heavy with doubt. He felt the fabric of his skirt cling inappropriately, the heels forcing him to adjust with every faltering stride. Inside the mall, the fluorescent lights magnified every detail, his soft face, the subtle blush on his cheeks, the delicate eyeliner. A mirror near the escalator caught his reflection. Aaron froze, staring at the girl who stared back. The resemblance to himself was undeniable, yet the transformation was complete. He didn't recognize the person in front of him. A group of teenage girls passed by, whispering and giggling. Aaron felt the sting of exposure, his face flushing hotter than the summer sun outside. "Oh my God, she's gorgeous," one whispered, oblivious to his trembling behind the polite smile. Aaron's legs shook. For the first time, he felt the sting of public attention, the humiliation of being recognized not as himself, but as something crafted, controlled, and exposed. Richard's hand rested lightly on his back. "Stand tall. Walk like you own this. If you falter, everyone can smell your fear." Aaron took a deep breath. He adjusted his posture, attempting a soft sway in his hips, and moved forward. Every step was a battle. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body betrayed him, moving with a fluidity he had never known. They stopped at a clothing store. Richard guided him to the fitting rooms, where another test awaited. "Pick an outfit," Richard said. "Something that will draw attention but keep the image intact." Aaron's hands shook as he sifted through racks of skirts, blouses, and delicate dresses. Each piece felt like a statement of surrender. Finally, he selected a pale lavender dress with lace detailing. As he changed behind the curtain, he felt the cold realization settle in. There was no turning back. When he emerged, Richard's eyes sparkled with a mix of pride and control. "Perfect. Now, let's see how you handle the world outside these walls." Aaron stepped out into the mall, heels clicking sharply on the tiled floor. A small group of older men glanced in his direction, some with curiosity, others with overt interest. Aaron's pulse raced. He felt a flush of embarrassment and a strange, unexplainable thrill. A familiar voice cut through the noise. "Aaron? Is that really you?" He froze. A classmate from high school, someone who had teased him relentlessly for years, was staring at him with wide eyes. Aaron's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. The words he would have used were gone, replaced by the soft, feminine tones Richard had coached him to use. He cleared his throat, forcing a small, nervous smile. "Yes, that's me," he whispered, voice lighter, higher. The sound was alien even to himself. Richard's smile was smug, almost victorious.
"See?
"You can do this," he murmured.
Now walk.
"Show the world who you are." Aaron took a hesitant step, then another. With each stride, he felt his old self slipping further away, the shy, invisible boy replaced by a meticulously crafted image of femininity. The thrill of being noticed mixed with the shame of exposure, a dangerous cocktail that made his stomach churn. By the time they left the mall, Aaron's legs were sore, his cheeks flushed, and his mind whirling. He had survived the first public test, but the fear of what came next gnawed at him. As they stepped into the car, Aaron's phone buzzed. A message from someone he had never expected to see in this world flashed on the screen. "We need to talk about you. And about what you've become." Alone in my room, the silence screamed at me louder than any words, forcing me to confront a reflection I didn't recognize, yet couldn't deny. Aaron's room felt different now. The faint scent of lavender from Richard's perfume lingered in the air, clinging to the soft fabrics strewn across the bed. He sat on the edge, heels still on, skirt brushing his thighs, staring at the mirror across the room. The girl staring back at him wasn't just a reflection. She was a warning, a promise, and a trap all at once. Richard had left hours ago, leaving instructions. "Practice everything I showed you. Dress, walk, speak, be her. Tonight, the real test begins." Aaron's fingers trembled as he unbuttoned the blouse and stepped out of the skirt. The act of removing the clothes felt like peeling away layers of his old self, but beneath each layer, he felt the faint warmth of something alien. Something that both frightened and intrigued him. He approached the mirror slowly, analyzing every detail, the soft curve of his cheeks, the subtle shadow of eyeliner, the way the wig framed his face. His reflection was mesmerizing and terrifying. "I'm me," he whispered, voice high and fragile. The words caught in his throat. He sank onto the bed, hugging his knees. The thrill of the mall earlier now twisted into a gnawing anxiety. How long could he keep this up? Was he already losing himself? The heels, the skirts, the delicate voice, all of it felt like someone else's skin. A knock at the door made him jump. "Aaron." Richard's voice, calm and controlled, slid under the door. "Have you practiced?" "Yes," Aaron murmured, though the words sounded hollow even to himself. "You look good," Richard said softly. "But it's not just about looking. You need to feel it. Become her. Only then will you survive the next step." Aaron swallowed hard. Feeling it. Becoming her. The words echoed in his mind. Could he do it? Could he surrender so completely to someone else's design that he forgot who he once was? He lay back on the bed, the ceiling spinning as he considered every humiliating detail Richard had instructed him to master, walking in heels without wobbling, softening his voice, using gestures that felt natural, feminine, seductive. Each mental rehearsal made his chest tighten, his mind ache. Minutes passed, then hours. Aaron practiced silently, stumbling over every movement, over every word. At some point, tears pricked the corners of his eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming intensity of the transformation. He was breaking, and yet, in the same breath, he felt a curious spark of pride. A sudden notification on his phone made him jump again. A message from a classmate flashed across the screen. "I saw you today, you're beautiful. But is that really you?" Aaron's fingers shook as he typed a reply, unsure how to respond. "Yes, that's me. I'm trying." The silence that followed was deafening. Alone, Aaron's mind spiraled between fear and fascination, shame and excitement. Every glance at the mirror reinforced the tension. This wasn't just clothing. This wasn't a temporary game. It was an entirely new identity being forged against his will. Hours later, as he finally removed the wig and curled under the covers, he couldn't sleep. His reflection lingered in his mind like a phantom, whispering doubts, desires, and fears. For the first time, he understood that transformation wasn't just external. It was psychological, emotional, and irreversible if he let it consume him. The faint sound of Richard's voice drifted from the hallway as Aaron finally drifted into a fitful sleep. "Tomorrow, the real world will test you, and everyone will see the girl you're becoming.
Are you ready for that?"
Every glance felt like a spotlight, every whisper like a dagger. Could I survive the world's eyes as someone I barely recognized myself? The morning sun poured through Aaron's bedroom window, but sleep had done little to calm the storm inside him. Richard had left early, a small, cryptic note resting on the desk. "Today, you face the world alone. Remember what you are becoming." Aaron's hands shook as he dressed in a delicate pastel blouse and a pleated skirt, heels clicking softly against the floor. The wig was secured carefully, and makeup was meticulously applied, every line and shadow a testament to Richard's insistence on perfection. For a moment, Erin hesitated, staring at the mirror. The girl staring back was confident, poised, and undeniably feminine. And yet, behind the soft eyes and painted lips, he could feel the boy he once was, trapped and trembling. He stepped outside. The city was alive, buzzing with people unaware of the small, intimate torment Erin carried with him. Each step was a test. Each passerby, a potential judge. The first challenge came quickly. Walking past a cafe, a group of friends turned to look at him. Or rather, the girl he had become. "Wow, she's gorgeous," one whispered, oblivious to the internal struggle. Erin's face flushed. The attention was intoxicating and humiliating all at once. He felt a strange thrill at the compliments, yet every word made him shrink internally. His reflection in the cafe window mirrored the conflict. Eyes wide with fear, lips pressed together in forced composure. Halfway through the street, he nearly stumbled on the heels, catching himself against a railing. Panic flared. He could almost hear Richard's voice in his mind. Every mistake is a lesson. Every stumble shapes her. At the park, Erin spotted someone familiar. Ethan, a boy from his college who had always been kind but teasingly flirtatious. Erin froze, unsure how to respond. The girl in the mirror was supposed to be confident, fluid, alluring, but Erin's old nervous habits surged. Ethan's eyes widened, then softened. "Erin? Or should I say you?" Erin forced a small, shaky smile. "Yeah, it's me." His voice betrayed him, a blend of femininity and the old timbre. Ethan stepped closer, intrigued. "You look amazing. Really beautiful. I didn't even recognize you at first." Erin felt a blush rise, not just from embarrassment, but from the odd warmth of being admired. It was intoxicating, and it frightened him. He could sense the power of his new image, the control it wielded over others, yet he wasn't sure if he liked it or feared it. The afternoon dragged on with small trials, a cafe visit where Erin struggled to order delicately without faltering, walking past a crowded market while heels clicked sharply on stone, and enduring a group of giggling teenage girls who passed by and whispered. With every encounter, Erin's old identity chipped away, replaced by the polished, feminine image Richard had engineered. Yet the tension between fear and thrill never left him. By evening, Erin returned home, exhausted. His legs were sore, his cheeks flushed, and his mind whirled with the day's events. He dropped onto the bed, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the realization that the world had already started accepting the girl he had become, even if he hadn't. Richard entered quietly, smiling. "You survived today, but tomorrow will be harder. You'll start losing the last pieces of him. Are you ready for that?" Erin closed his eyes, a shiver running down his spine. He wasn't sure he was ready, but deep down he knew there was no turning back. As Erin drifted into restless sleep, his phone buzzed. A message appeared, simple yet terrifying. "Meet me tomorrow. I want to see the girl you've become. Alone." The moment I sat in that chair, I realized control had a new face, one that smiled sweetly while breaking me piece by piece. The next morning, Erin's stomach churned with a mix of dread and anticipation. Richard had insisted on another challenge, a trip to a high-end beauty salon downtown. Today, Erin would face strangers, experts, and the harsh judgment of the public, all while fully dressed as a girl. Erin slipped into a soft pink dress, laced delicately at the shoulders, and stepped into heels that made his calves scream. The wig was brushed meticulously, and the eyeliner was applied with trembling hands. Every brushstroke felt like a surrender. Richard's hand rested lightly on his back. "Remember, Erin," he said softly, almost tenderly. "Here, your identity is not yours. It's mine to mold. The world only sees her. Do you understand?" Erin nodded, swallowing hard. His voice, soft and feminine, barely emerged. "Yes, I understand." The drive to the salon was quiet, tension hanging thick in the air. Richard's occasional glances in the rearview mirror sent shivers down Erin's spine. He felt like a fragile puppet, each nerve taut, each movement observed. When they arrived, the salon's glass doors reflected Aaron's image back at him, soft, delicate, undeniably feminine. He stepped inside, heels clicking against the polished floor, immediately feeling the gaze of stylists and clients. A woman approached, clipboard in hand. "You're here for your makeover?" she asked cheerfully. Aaron nodded, cheeks flushing. Yes, his voice betrayed him, the high-pitched tone unfamiliar yet inescapable. As he sat in the chair, the stylist draped a silky cape around his shoulders. Every touch, combing, brushing, applying creams, felt invasive, exposing. Aaron's hands clenched in his lap as the stylist examined his face, adjusting the wig and shaping his features. "You have such delicate features," she commented, unaware of Aaron's internal turmoil. "With the right makeup, you could be stunning." Aaron's heart raced. The words, intended as a compliment, felt like both praise and mockery. Every brush against his skin sent a jolt through his body, a reminder that he was not just wearing a mask, he was becoming it. Richard stood quietly nearby, a faint smile playing at his lips.
"See?
You're learning. Every touch, every comment, it's molding you." Hours passed in a haze of foundation, blush, mascara, and subtle contouring. Aaron's reflection changed before his eyes. The boy who had nervously entered the salon was gone. In his place stood a girl whose beauty was undeniable, whose femininity was almost overwhelming. And yet, the transformation wasn't just physical. Each moment reinforced a psychological shift. Aaron's old self was retreating, replaced by someone pliable, exposed, and deeply aware of the control Richard wielded over him. When the session ended, Richard led Aaron to the salon's floor-length mirror. "Look at yourself," he whispered. "Do you recognize her?" Aaron's fingers shook as he touched his own cheeks, tracing the smooth curves, the perfect line of his lips, the shimmer of eyeshadow. I don't know," he murmured, voice cracking slightly. "She's beautiful, but is that me?" Richard's smile widened. "That's the point. She's what the world sees. And soon you'll feel it too. Every step, every glance, every whisper. They'll remind you of who you are now." Aaron swallowed, a mixture of shame, fear, and something almost addictive stirring inside him. He had survived the first true test, strangers, judgment, and public scrutiny, but the lesson was clear. His old self was slipping further, and there was no place to hide. As they left the salon, Aaron caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd, a childhood friend who paused, staring. Recognition flickered in their eyes. Aaron froze, heart pounding. Had his secret finally been discovered? "I thought the salon was the worst it could get, until Richard led me straight into a room full of strangers who were never supposed to know." Aaron hadn't spoken a word on the drive home. His reflection still haunted him, glossy lips, flushed cheeks, and eyes painted with smoky allure. Every passing car window felt like another mirror, another reminder that the world didn't see Aaron anymore. They saw her. But Richard wasn't done. He never was. That evening, he appeared at Aaron's doorway, his smile both warm and menacing. "Get dressed," Richard said, tossing a velvet box onto the bed. Aaron opened it hesitantly. Inside was a silky navy blue dress, its neckline dangerously delicate, paired with silver heels that shimmered under the light. His chest tightened. Why this?" "We're going out," Richard replied smoothly. "A gathering. Friends. Don't worry, they don't know you. To them, you're my stepdaughter. Tonight, you prove you can live as her." Aaron's throat dried. A party. Strangers. Conversations. The salon had been humiliating enough, but at least those people hadn't known him. A gathering meant eyes, lingering, judging, dissecting. He wanted to protest, but Richard's gaze silenced him. The transformation took nearly an hour. The navy dress hugged him closely, revealing curves the padding emphasized. The heels forced his steps into slow, deliberate elegance. By the time Richard led him to the mirror, Aaron could hardly breathe. "Perfect," Richard whispered, brushing a strand of hair from Aaron's face. "You're ready." The venue was a lavish home, music pulsing faintly through the walls. Laughter and chatter spilled into the night air as Richard escorted Aaron inside. Immediately, Aaron felt the weight of eyes on him. Guests turned, their conversations pausing, their smiles widening in approval. Compliments poured in about his beauty, his poise, his presence. Aaron forced a smile, each word of praise cutting deeper into his sense of self. Beautiful, lovely, stunning. The words wrapped around him like chains. One woman leaned in, whispering conspiratorially, "You must be Richard's daughter. He never told us how gorgeous you are." Aaron's stomach twisted. Daughter. The word pierced through his chest like a knife. Drinks were offered, introductions made, small talk exchanged. Aaron struggled to keep his voice soft, his mannerisms graceful. Every slip, every near stumble in his heels, made his heart race. Then, the nightmare unfolded. In the corner of the room stood someone he knew, Claire, a former neighbor from his old street, someone who remembered Aaron as the awkward boy who rarely spoke. Her eyes narrowed as she studied him, recognition flickering in her gaze. Aaron panicked. His chest tightened as Claire stepped closer, her lips parting in disbelief. "Wait, don't I know you?" she asked, voice low, uncertain. Aaron froze. Richard's hand slipped around his shoulder, squeezing lightly, both reassuring and threatening. "This is my daughter," Richard said smoothly, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You must be mistaken." Claire hesitated, eyes locked onto Aaron's trembling face. Her doubt lingered, heavy and dangerous, but she forced a polite smile and stepped back. Aaron's lungs burned as he exhaled, his legs threatening to give way beneath him. The night continued, but the encounter left him shaken. He realized how fragile his disguise was, how easily the truth could unravel everything. As the party wound down, Richard whispered in his ear, his voice silky and sharp, "You survived tonight." "Barely. But the more you live as her, the harder it will be to go back. Do you see that now?" Aaron nodded weakly, though the truth made him want to collapse. Each day was eroding his identity, turning him into someone he barely recognized. And, the worst part, the world was starting to believe the lie. Back home, Aaron slipped off his heels and collapsed onto his bed. His phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. "I saw you tonight. I know who you really are. If you don't want me to expose you, meet me tomorrow." Just when I thought I could manage being her, a single message reminded me how fragile my secret really was and how dangerous Richard's control could be. Aaron woke with a heavy sense of dread. The unknown sender's message from last night lingered in his mind. Every time his phone buzzed, he flinched, heart hammering against his ribs. He dressed mechanically in another soft, feminine outfit, heels tapping nervously against the floor. Even the act of applying makeup felt like a test, each stroke, each blush, each line reminding him how much he had changed. Richard appeared in the doorway, his presence both comforting and suffocating. "You're tense," he said softly, stepping in and adjusting Aaron's hair. "Relax. Today, we confront the threat. But you'll do it as her." Aaron swallowed, nodding. The idea of facing someone who knew his old identity terrified him. And yet, Richard's tone left no room for refusal. The first stop was a quiet cafe downtown, the place specified in the mysterious message. Aaron's heels clicked against the tiles as they entered. The cafe was modest, crowded with a few mid-morning patrons who paid them no mind. But Aaron's gaze searched frantically for the unknown sender. Then he saw him, a young man sitting at a corner table, eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made Aaron's stomach drop. Recognition hit like a lightning bolt. Ethan, the boy Aaron had met in the park during his first public outing, was now a potential threat. Ethan smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Well, if it isn't my old friend, or should I say my new friend?" Aaron froze. His throat tightened. He wanted to run, to disappear, but Richard's hand rested lightly on his back, steadying him. "Remember," Richard whispered, "you are her. Every word, every gesture, every glance, own it." Aaron took a shaky breath and walked toward Ethan. His heels clicked sharply with each step, his soft, feminine voice rehearsed perfectly. "Hello," he murmured, bowing slightly in a delicate, practiced manner. Ethan's eyes sparkled with mischief. I didn't expect this. You're stunning. Erin's chest ached. Praise always felt like a double-edged sword, validation and humiliation entwined. Every word chipped away at the boy he used to be, reinforcing the delicate girl Richard had created. The conversation that followed was a careful dance. Erin answered Ethan's questions, laughed at his jokes, and navigated the casual flirtation that made his stomach churn. But behind the polished facade, panic brewed. Any slip, any hesitation, could reveal the truth. Richard watched silently from the corner, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. See how easily the world accepts her? He murmured. But remember, Erin, you must obey. Your past is fragile. Your future depends on control. By the time they left the cafe, Erin was exhausted. His legs ached, his voice felt raw, and his mind was a whirlwind of fear and excitement. The thrill of being admired clashed violently with the terror of exposure. Back home, Erin collapsed onto the bed, scrolling through his messages. Another note had appeared from the same unknown number. Careful. Secrets don't stay buried forever. I know the truth. Meet me if you want to keep it hidden. Erin felt a chill creep down his spine. Richard sat on the edge of the bed, his gaze sharp and commanding. This is why control is necessary, he said softly, almost lovingly. You are mine, and no one else can shape you better than I can. Trust me, Erin, or lose everything. Erin's hands trembled. He wanted to protest, to scream, to reclaim himself, but deep down, he knew resistance was pointless. Each day, each test, each forced outing made him more dependent on Richard. The boy he had been was slipping further, replaced by a girl molded for attention, control, and obedience. That night, Erin looked in the mirror and whispered to his own reflection. Who am I really? Outside, the faint glow of a car's headlights hinted that someone was waiting, watching, and the threat of exposure loomed closer than ever. Every brush of his hand against mine sent a shock through my body. I wanted to pull away, but part of me craved it. The day began with a familiar tension. Erin dressed in a soft, sky-blue dress that fluttered around his knees and a pair of delicate heels that made his calves ache before he even left the house. The wig was styled perfectly, eyeliner sharp, lips tinted with a natural blush, every detail meticulously aligned with Richard's instructions. You look beautiful, Richard whispered, tracing Erin's cheek lightly. Remember, tonight isn't just about appearances. It's about presence, charm, and control. Erin swallowed. The word control lingered like a shadow, pressing on him with every heartbeat. He didn't understand why Richard enjoyed watching him squirm, yet the truth was clear. He was utterly dependent. The venue this time was a small outdoor cafe, casual but bustling with patrons. Erin's heart raced as Richard guided him to a table where Ethan was already waiting. The young man's eyes lit up, and his smile made Erin's chest tighten. You're amazing, Ethan said softly, reaching out to brush a strand of hair behind Erin's ear. The gesture was innocent to him, intimate, and electrifying to Erin. Erin froze, cheeks burning. Every instinct screamed to pull away, but he remembered Richard's words. Be her. Own it. Every gesture, every touch, make it natural. He forced a soft smile, heart hammering. Thank you. His voice was gentle, feminine, practiced, yet it carried the tremor of someone terrified. Ethan's hand lingered on Erin's, light and teasing. The warmth radiated through him, making his stomach twist. Shame, confusion, and a strange thrill mixed into a chaotic storm. Richard observed from a nearby table, his presence subtle but omnipresent. A faint smile played on his lips.
See?
Every reaction proves the control is working. Every blush, every hesitation, she's learning her place. Erin tried to focus on the conversation, but each compliment, each lingering gaze, each casual touch from Ethan disarmed him. The line between fear and fascination blurred, making his heart race and mind spin. He realized with a jolt that part of him wanted to be admired, wanted to be praised as the girl he had become, yet another part longed to retreat to the boy he had been. Hours passed, punctuated by small moments of near exposure. A waiter commented on Aaron's beauty, passing patrons whispered, and each interaction chipped away further at his former identity. By the end of the evening, he felt drained, flushed, and oddly exhilarated. Back home, Aaron collapsed onto the bed, heels removed, wig loosened. Richard approached, a calm, measured presence. "You handled today beautifully," he said. But notice how it felt thrilling, humiliating, and intoxicating all at once? That is the power of her. That is the power of control. Aaron's mind reeled. He didn't understand how he could feel proud and humiliated simultaneously, yet he did. Every compliment, every touch, every whispered word had slowly, subtly reshaped him. That night, as Aaron stared into the mirror, he traced his soft lips and whispered, almost involuntarily, "Am I becoming her?" The phone buzzed beside him, a message from Ethan. "I can't stop thinking about you. You're so beautiful. Can we meet again?" Aaron's breath caught. Desire, shame, fear, and curiosity collided, leaving him paralyzed. Tomorrow promised more tests, more control, and more exposure, and he wasn't sure he could resist what he was becoming. I never imagined that being alone with him would feel this dangerous, yet every glance, every word, made it impossible to look away. The evening was quiet, the house dimly lit. Aaron had changed into a soft, lavender slip dress, the silky fabric clinging to his curves and brushing his thighs as he walked. The heels made his steps deliberate, slow, each one a rehearsal in grace and poise. Richard watched him carefully, his gaze calculating, almost predatory. "Tonight," he said, voice low and velvety, "we explore her fully. You are no longer just my stepdaughter. You are her. And she must understand every nuance of desire, of attention, of control." Aaron swallowed hard, his throat tight.
Desire? Control?
The words hung in the air like a trap. He had learned to obey, to dress, to speak, to smile, but this was something entirely different. Richard guided him to the living room, where soft music played. He stepped close, brushing a hand along Aaron's shoulder, the touch sending shivers down his spine. "Look at me," Richard whispered. "She sees the world differently. Every glance, every gesture, every blush, she learns how to use them. Watch, feel, and respond." Aaron's cheeks flushed as Richard's hand lingered, his eyes fixed on Aaron's. He wanted to pull away, to retreat, but the mix of fear, shame, and an unexplainable thrill rooted him in place. Richard leaned closer, his voice almost a caress. "Do you feel it? The power she wields? The way the world, even me, reacts to her?" Aaron's voice trembled. I think so." The words felt like a betrayal and a confession at once. Richard smiled, leaning back slightly. "Good. Now practice. Speak softly, move delicately, let her confidence shine. Let her seduction, innocent but compelling, take hold." Aaron's hands shook as he adjusted the straps of the slip dress, lifting his chin and trying to meet Richard's gaze without averting his eyes. Every movement, every glance, felt exposed. Yet, beneath the panic, he sensed a strange, addictive thrill, the realization that he could captivate, influence, even manipulate emotions simply by being her. Hours passed in a haze of practice, whispered instructions, and subtle touches. Each lesson reinforced the psychological control Richard had over him. Aaron's mind raced. He hated how much he enjoyed the attention, yet the shame was even more consuming. By the end of the night, Aaron collapsed onto the sofa, drenched in sweat, trembling with exhaustion and emotional overload. He looked at his reflection in the nearby window, seeing the girl he had become, soft, alluring, and terrifyingly real. Just as Aaron was about to drift into restless sleep, his phone buzzed. A new message appeared from an unknown number. "I've seen enough. Meet me tonight. Alone. Or everyone will know your secret." Aaron's breath caught. Fear and desire mingled, a cruel reminder that the world outside, and the control Richard held, was far from over. Every secret has a price, and tonight, someone was ready to collect mine. Aaron sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the glowing message on his phone. His hands trembled, the perfectly manicured nails making the shaking even more visible. The silk slip clung to his body, cold against his clammy skin. He felt like a doll wound too tightly, ready to snap.
Meet me tonight.
Alone. Or everyone will know your secret. The words pulsed like a wound. He glanced at the door, listening for Richard's movements. The older man was in his study, humming softly, oblivious, or perhaps not. Aaron stood, legs weak, and went to the mirror. The girl looking back at him was perfect. Soft makeup, fluttering lashes, a frightened tilt to her mouth. He touched the glass, whispering, "I don't even know who you are anymore."
But he went anyway.
Pulling on a long coat over his slip dress, he slipped out the back door into the cool night. Every step in the heels was a silent battle, between the boy who wanted to run and the girl who had been taught to move gracefully, even under pressure. The address in the message led him to an abandoned playground at the edge of town. Rusted swings creaked in the wind, the moonlight casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. Someone was already there. A man leaned against the jungle gym, hood up, cigarette glowing between his fingers. When he saw Aaron, he smiled slowly, cruelly. "I knew it," he said. "I knew that was you." Aaron's heart lurched. He recognized the voice instantly. Kyle, an old friend from before everything changed. The boy who used to skateboard with him after school, who knew his Real laugh, his real name. "You look," Kyle laughed darkly, "different." Aaron's voice cracked. "Please, Kyle. Don't." Kyle stepped closer, circling him like a predator. "Don't. You've been playing dress-up while disappearing from everyone's life. This is gold. Do you have any idea how much people would pay to see this?" Aaron's throat tightened. He wanted to scream, but the words stuck. Why are you doing this?" "Because," Kyle sneered, "people like you always end up paying. And you're going to pay me to keep this quiet." Aaron's phone buzzed. Another message from Richard. "Where are you?" Panic surged. He was trapped between two worlds, the controlling man who had remade him and the old friend who could expose him. He felt his knees weaken, the silk of the slip whispering against his thighs as he trembled. Kyle stepped even closer, his breath hot against Aaron's ear. "I want 10 grand. Or, tomorrow morning. Everyone knows what you've become." Aaron's vision blurred. 10 grand? He had nothing. His mind flashed through memories of Ethan's soft gaze, Richard's commanding voice, the girl in the mirror. He wasn't just Aaron anymore, and this secret could destroy both lives. "Please," he whispered, voice breaking. "I can't." Kyle smirked. "Then maybe I'll take something else." His hand brushed Aaron's hair back roughly, a mockery of the gentle touches Ethan gave. Before Kyle could say another word, headlights washed over the playground. A black car rolled to a stop, the window lowering slowly. Richard's silhouette appeared, calm and deliberate. Aaron froze. Relief and terror collided in his chest. Richard had found him. Richard stepped out, adjusting his cufflinks. "You should go home, Kyle," he said, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "You're trespassing on something that doesn't belong to you." Kyle laughed, but it was thin now. "Doesn't belong to me? What is this, some kind of freak show?" Richard's eyes darkened.
"Leave. Now."
The weight of his voice, the stillness of his stance, made Kyle falter. He stepped back, muttering, "This isn't over," before disappearing into the night. Aaron stood trembling, barely able to breathe. Richard approached slowly, his touch almost tender as he adjusted Aaron's coat. "You disobeyed me," he murmured, "but you're safe. For now." Aaron wanted to collapse into his arms, to scream, to run, but all he could do was whisper. "I didn't know what to do." Richard's eyes softened for a fraction of a second before hardening again. "Then you will learn. Because from this moment on, she cannot afford mistakes." As Richard led him back to the car, Aaron's phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. "You can't hide forever. She's almost gone. And when she is, I'll be waiting." Aaron stared at the text, chills racing up his spine. For the first time, he wondered if the girl in the mirror wasn't just a disguise, but someone who might replace him entirely. Every piece of me was unraveling, yet I couldn't stop looking in the mirror. She was me, wasn't she? Aaron returned home, collapsing onto his bed. His legs ached from the heels, his chest throbbed with adrenaline, and his mind raced faster than his heart. The encounter with Kyle, the blackmail, and Richard's calm, unshakable control left him feeling more exposed and vulnerable than ever. He crawled toward the mirror, brushing his fingers along his cheeks. The girl staring back wasn't just a reflection. She was a living presence, alive with grace, allure, and subtle power. He traced the curve of his jaw, the softness of his lips, the delicate arch of his eyebrows. I'm her, he whispered, voice cracking, caught between disbelief and fascination. Tears pooled in his eyes, blurring the reflection. Part of him wanted to wipe them away, to reclaim the boy he had been. But another part, deeper, insidious, and oddly thrilling, wanted to linger, to explore, to become the image staring back at him. Richard entered silently, his presence a shadow over the room. "She looks good," he said softly, his gaze lingering on Aaron. "Do you feel it? That pull? That fascination with her own reflection?" Aaron shook, breath hitching. I don't know. I feel lost. But something else." "Good," Richard said, smiling faintly. "It's supposed to be confusing. She isn't just a disguise. She's a new life, a new reality. And if you accept her fully, you'll be untouchable." Aaron trembled, caught between shame and intrigue. Every fiber of his old self resisted the idea of surrender. But the warmth of the silk dress against his skin, the soft curl of his hair, the delicate flutter of his lashes, it called to him. Richard stepped closer, guiding Aaron to sit in front of the mirror. "Look at her," he murmured. "She's strong, delicate, commanding attention without speaking. And she belongs to you now if you let her." Aaron's fingers brushed over his lips, feeling their softness. A shiver ran down his spine. He realized with a start that he enjoyed the way he looked, the way his reflection captivated him. It was shameful and thrilling. Minutes passed in silence, the room heavy with tension. Aaron's reflection became more than just a mirror image. It became a presence, a companion, a part of him he couldn't deny. Then, unexpectedly, his phone buzzed again. A message from Ethan. "I can't stop thinking about you. You're perfect. Can I see you tomorrow?" Aaron's heart raced. Desire, fear, and confusion collided violently. He realized he was already responding to the attention, feeling a thrill that made his chest tighten. The boy he had been wanted to flee, but the girl in the mirror wanted to stay. Richard watched quietly, noting the flicker of acceptance in Aaron's eyes. "Do you see?" he whispered.
She isn't just a mask.
"She's a power. And soon, you'll have no choice but to embrace her fully." Aaron nodded weakly, tears spilling over. He didn't fully understand what he was becoming or whether he wanted to, but the reflection in the mirror held him captive, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. That night, as Aaron lay in bed, the wind rattling the windows, another message appeared on his phone. "You're slipping, and I'll be there when she takes over completely." Aaron shivered. The line between him and the girl he was becoming was fading, and the world outside was ready to exploit it. Tonight wasn't a rehearsal. Tonight, she would step into the world, and everyone would be watching. The invitation had arrived a week earlier, embossed and elegant, addressed not to Aaron but to Alyssa, the name Richard had chosen for his stepdaughter. It was a charity gala at a downtown hotel, the kind of event dripping with wealth, cameras, and watchful eyes. Richard had been planning this moment carefully. "Tonight," he said as he adjusted Aaron's hair, "you will no longer be a secret. Tonight, she exists." Aaron sat perfectly still as the makeup artist, a stranger Richard had brought in, worked on his face. Foundation, contour, smoky eyes, a hint of blush. False lashes fluttered like wings. Lips painted a deep rose. The transformation was exquisite, terrifying. The dress waiting on the bed was a floor-length, satin gown the color of midnight. When Aaron slipped into it, the fabric clung to his body like a whisper, the slit at the thigh revealing just enough to make his legs look impossibly long. The heels were taller than any he had worn before, towering, commanding, and punishing. As Richard fastened a delicate diamond necklace around Aaron's throat, his voice was soft but firm. No mistakes. No hesitation. You are Alyssa. Own it, or you'll be eaten alive. Aaron's heart pounded as they arrived at the hotel. Flashbulbs popped outside as cars lined the curb. He could feel eyes on him before he even stepped out of the car. When he did, everything slowed. The night air was cool against his bare shoulders. The cameras turned. People murmured. He was led up the red carpet on Richard's arm, the world accepting Alyssa without question. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers glittered overhead, and the scent of champagne filled the air. Aaron's hands trembled as he took a glass offered by a waiter. Every movement felt exaggerated, rehearsed, like a performance he could not afford to fail. And then, through the crowd, he saw Ethan. The young man's eyes widened, his lips parting in shock. But it wasn't the shock of recognition. It was admiration. "Alyssa?" he murmured when they were introduced. "You look incredible." Aaron felt heat rise to his cheeks. The sound of the name on Ethan's lips made his stomach flutter. For a moment, the noise, the cameras, the chandelier lights faded, and all he felt was Ethan's gaze, warm, inviting, dangerously sincere. But Richard was never far. His hand on Aaron's back was a constant reminder. Control. Throughout the evening, Aaron moved from guest to guest, shaking hands, exchanging smiles, his voice soft and feminine, his posture perfect. Compliments flowed like wine, each one feeding both his shame and his growing intoxication. He began to feel powerful, even beautiful. Then it happened. Across the room, near the bar, Kyle stood with a drink in his hand, a sly smile on his face. He raised his phone, snapping a picture before Aaron could react. Panic surged. Aaron's grip on his champagne glass faltered. He nearly stumbled in his heels. The old life and the new collided in that instant. Kyle, Ethan, Richard, and Alyssa all orbiting around one another like a storm. Richard's eyes narrowed, following Aaron's gaze. "Stay calm," he murmured. "You're being watched." Aaron forced a smile, forcing his trembling hands to steady. He felt trapped in a beautiful cage, performing for an audience that might devour him. Cliffhanger. As the gala wound down, Ethan slipped him a note on a folded napkin. "Meet me on the terrace. Alone." Aaron's heart raced. Outside, the city glittered. Inside, Kyle vanished into the crowd. And somewhere in the shadows, Richard's plan for Alyssa moved one step closer to completion. The city lights blurred beneath us, but it wasn't the view that made my chest ache. It was him, and the impossible thrill of being seen as her. Aaron slipped away from the ballroom, heels clicking softly against the polished floor. His heart raced, each step heavier than the last. The terrace doors opened to a warm night breeze, carrying the scent of distant flowers and city streets. And there, leaning casually against the railing, was Ethan. He looked at Aaron, not with judgment, but with fascination and undeniable desire. "You made it," Ethan said softly, his voice low and intimate. Aaron's lips parted, unsure how to respond. The thrill of being admired as Alyssa clashed violently with the panic that Kyle might still be lurking somewhere. "Why, yeah, I made it," he stammered, voice delicate and high. Ethan smiled, a slow, teasing curve of his lips. "You're incredible." His hand brushed against Aaron's gently, fingers grazing the wrist. Aaron's stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed to pull away, but another part, hidden, dangerous, leaned into the touch. You don't know what this feels like," Aaron whispered, voice cracking, to be seen like this and not be able to go back." Ethan's eyes softened, filled with curiosity and warmth. "Then let me see it with you. Let me see her." Aaron swallowed. The wind tugged at his hair. The terrace glowed with soft city light, and Ethan's presence was intoxicating. He realized that he was caught between two worlds, the boy he had been, terrified of exposure, and the girl Richard had created, craving attention, admiration, and validation. He took a tentative step closer, heels clicking softly. The sensation of being noticed, admired, and even desired as Alyssa made his heart pound. Shame and pleasure collided violently. "You're trembling," Ethan murmured, his hand brushing Aaron's fingers again. Aaron's voice was barely audible. I can't. I don't know if I should." Ethan leaned closer, lips brushing Aaron's ear. "Then let me help you. You don't have to be afraid. Not here, not now." The temptation was nearly unbearable. Aaron felt the silk of the dress, the soft shimmer of makeup, the delicate heels supporting him. He wanted to run back to the safety of his old identity, but the girl in the mirror, the one who had survived salons, parties, and public admiration, whispered differently. "Stay. Experience this. She is real." Before he could respond, the terrace door creaked open behind him. Richard's silhouette appeared, calm, commanding, and unyielding. "Enjoying your new life, are we?" His voice was velvet and steel, immediately cutting through the tension. Aaron's body froze. Ethan stepped back, confused and wary. Richard approached slowly, eyes flicking between them. "This attraction, it's all part of the lesson. Desire is powerful, but control is stronger. Remember that, Alyssa." Aaron's chest tightened. His identity, his desires, his shame, all swirled together. The night, the city lights, Ethan's gaze, Richard's looming presence. It was overwhelming. Richard reached out, lightly tracing Aaron's jawline. "You see, she isn't just a disguise. She's a weapon, and soon, the world will know it. But the choice to wield her, or be consumed by her, is yours." Aaron's knees trembled as he whispered to the night, to Ethan, and to himself. "Who am I, really?" The moment the lights hit me and the whispers started, I realized there was no going back. The gala had ended, but the night wasn't over. Richard had arranged a private afterparty at a trendy rooftop club downtown, a place where high society mingled, photos were inevitable, and reputations were fragile. Aaron, now fully Alyssa, followed Richard up the elevator, every step in his towering heels a reminder that he had already crossed a line. He had performed, charmed, and survived, but tonight, the world would see her in her full glory or full humiliation. The club was alive with music, laughter, and the soft clink of glasses. Flashbulbs from cameras mounted on the walls captured every corner. Alyssa's breath caught. Every step, every glance, every whispered compliment reinforced the fragile girl he had become. Richard leaned close, his hand brushing Aaron's arm. "Remember," he whispered, "every eye is on you. Own her, or crumble." Alyssa felt it, every stare, every whispered comment. People didn't see Aaron anymore. They saw a woman commanding attention effortlessly. Compliments poured in, gorgeous, stunning, absolutely breathtaking. Every word cut deep and thrilled simultaneously. Then, across the room, Kyle appeared again. His smirk was sharper this time, and he was no longer alone. A few acquaintances followed, cameras ready. He snapped photos almost immediately, clearly intending to make Alyssa's secret public. Panic surged through Aaron's chest. Richard's hand tightened slightly on Aaron's waist. "Relax. She can handle this." Aaron wanted to argue, to run, to escape the spotlight. But Ethan was there too, eyes wide with admiration and desire. He reached out, brushing a hand against Alyssa's fingers. The touch made Aaron's chest tighten in both fear and exhilaration. Richard's smile was calm, almost cruel. "Watch how the world reacts," he murmured. "This is the test. And she will pass." Minutes felt like hours. Every whisper, every camera flash, every touch forced Aaron further into Alyssa's persona. He stumbled once in his heels, and the room noticed, but Richard's firm hand steadied him instantly. By the time the night was halfway over, Aaron's resistance had weakened. The thrill of attention, the intoxicating admiration, and the subtle dominance of Richard had reshaped him. For a fleeting moment, he realized he might not be able to return to his old life at all. As the music swelled, a familiar ringtone pierced through the club's bass-heavy beat. Erin froze. It was a message from Kyle. The world knows. Let's see if she can survive the morning. Panic surged, and Alyssa's reflection in the club's mirror showed someone beautiful, poised, but completely trapped, at the mercy of Richard's plan and the world's gaze. Everything I had been, everything I had feared, came crashing down. And for the first time, I had to decide who I really was or who I would become. The morning after the rooftop gala, Erin awoke drenched in sweat. The silk of his dress was folded neatly beside him, the heels still by the bed. He sat up, staring at the mirror. Alyssa's reflection greeted him, soft, poised, undeniably beautiful, but it no longer felt entirely foreign. Richard entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, voice deceptively calm. Erin shook, mind racing. I don't know who I am anymore," he whispered. "Alyssa, me, the girl in the mirror. I don't know which is real." Richard placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "She is real, and you are hers. But the choice, finally, is yours. Accept her fully, or risk losing everything else." Erin's thoughts swirled. Kyle's blackmail, Ethan's admiration, the public exposure, the thrill of being praised as Alyssa. Fear warred with desire, shame with exhilaration. Every step he had taken as Alyssa had left a mark on his body, his mind, and his soul. Ethan appeared at the door, his expression soft but serious. "Alyssa, Erin, whoever you are. I like her. I like you. Don't hide anymore." Erin's chest tightened. The boy he had been wanted to retreat. The girl he had become wanted to step forward, to embrace the admiration, the power, the beauty. Richard's eyes held him captive. "Decide. Now." For a long, suffocating moment, Erin stared at his reflection. The girl in the mirror smiled softly, lashes fluttering, lips parted in an impossible curve. She had endured ridicule, practice, and exposure. She had survived humiliation, submission, and temptation. She was strong, and she was him. Tears rolled down Erin's cheeks, but he smiled. I accept her," he whispered. "I accept Alyssa." Relief and exhilaration surged. Richard's hand tightened briefly on his shoulder, then released. Ethan stepped closer, offering his own hand. Alyssa took it, heels clicking on the floor with new confidence. Outside, the sun rose, warm and golden. Alyssa stepped into the light fully, no longer hiding, no longer resisting. She had been broken, reshaped, and forged anew, beautiful, alluring, and alive. Just as Alyssa felt free, her phone buzzed. A message from Kyle appeared. "Enjoy your new life, because I'm not done yet." Alyssa smiled faintly, lips soft but eyes sharp. The world might still challenge her, threaten her, and tempt her, but she was ready. She was no longer just Erin. She was Alyssa. The girl in the mirror winked at her own reflection. Let's see who can handle her now. The world would judge her, tease her, maybe even destroy her, but she had to prove she could survive and thrive. Weeks had passed since Alyssa fully embraced her new identity. She had grown accustomed to the delicate sway of her hips, the soft intonation of her voice, and the thrill of attention. But Richard wasn't finished. "You've done well, Alyssa," he said one morning, adjusting her hair as she sat in front of the mirror. "But admiration isn't enough. Control, exposure, temptation, they define her. Tonight, you face your ultimate test." Erin, no, Alyssa, felt a ripple of fear. She had been publicly admired, privately adored, even blackmailed. But Richard's words made her realize she hadn't faced full judgment, the kind where the world itself could scrutinize, reject, or even humiliate her. The test was simple but terrifying. A live fashion show organized by Richard's contacts, streamed online to a curated audience of influential figures. Every eye would be on her. Any misstep could reveal her past, her secret, her vulnerability. Hours before the show, Alyssa sat alone in the dressing room, tracing her lips and inhaling sharply. The satin gown was midnight black, glistening under the soft studio lights. Her hair was a cascade of curls, carefully teased and sprayed. The heels towered above anything she had ever worn publicly, and a delicate diamond choker hugged her throat. Richard entered quietly. "Remember," he whispered, "your power isn't just in your looks. It's in every glance, every step, every breath. Command them, or they will consume you." Alyssa nodded, knees trembling. She forced herself to practice walking, spinning, and smiling in front of the mirror. Each time, she felt the thrill of attention, the rush of performance, and the faint sting of humiliation, her old self dissolving further. The lights in the studio dimmed. A hush fell over the audience as Alyssa stepped onto the runway. Cameras followed her, the spotlight tracing her every curve. She could hear murmurs of admiration, whispers of disbelief, and, somewhere in the shadows, the faint, unmistakable presence of Kyle. Her heart pounded. He was here again, ready to expose her secret, to challenge her newfound identity. But the thrill, the fear, and the exhilaration intertwined, giving her a sharp clarity. Every step, every flick of her hair, every delicate movement of her hands felt like a declaration. She was Alyssa now. Not Aaron. Not the shy boy who had feared Richard's control. Alyssa was real, visible, and commanding the attention of the world, even those who sought to harm her. When the final spotlight hit, and the audience erupted in applause, Alyssa allowed herself a small, victorious smile. She had survived the ultimate public exposure, and thrived. Backstage, her phone buzzed. Another message from Kyle. "Impressive, but everyone has a breaking point. I'll find yours." Alyssa's chest tightened, a mix of fear, excitement, and exhilaration pulsing through her. The ultimate test had passed, but the game was far from over.